Afternoon, everyone. We're here today to preview the upcoming FA Cup game on Sunday against Arsenal. We'll start with questions in the room. Anton?
Hey, Julie. Hi, guys. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Look, Arsenal Man City doesn't need much of a sell, does it? But how big is this game, considering, obviously, City really want to win silverware this season?
Well, everyone wants to win silverware. I think, it's a big game, no doubt. There's ties that crop up, usually. This is kind of like a final tie, if you like, semi-final tie minimum. And sometimes they get thrown up. Happened last season as well. So, yeah, of course, I think it's a good challenge for us. You know, we've been in London recently against Spurs twice. We'll be here again, obviously, the weekend and next Friday as well against Chelsea. So, yeah, these are the games you want to be involved in.
Kind of game you expecting?
Tough one. I think so. I think a tough one. But I think when you look at our performances over the last couple of games we've had there, they've been good. Even when you look at our fixture here, back end of last season, of course, you know, it's probably never realistic to judge that type of game because players and personnel change, but ours hasn't a lot. But yeah, I think we're expecting a tough game. There's no doubt we're going to have to be really good, but they're going to have to be as well.
We talked a lot this season about how well Chloe Kelly's played, and now there's speculation about her future. How confident are you that she will remain a Manchester City player?
I'm really confident, but at the end of the day, these things happen, you know, when players are doing well. You know, you get these rumours that come out. How true they are, I'm not too sure. How much propaganda is involved. But look, we try and just normalise things and make sure that the players keep their feet on the floor. Yeah, we're doing well at the moment. We're on a really good run of unbeaten form. But we have to continue in that same vein. We have to keep pushing to improve. And Chloe's one of those players. Yes, she's playing well at the moment, but there's a lot to come from her, I feel. And with Chloe, you've got a really good personality to work with and someone who's hungry to learn.
We've talked about the development of this team that kind of started effectively 18 months ago when senior players left and new players came in. So how integral is it that the likes of Chloe and Lauren stay if this team's going to develop?
Yeah, of course, it's massive, and we're working so hard, like all of the other teams will be, to retain their best players. But at the end of the day, it's a free world, and you know, if players are not excited about what we're doing, or other players at other clubs are not excited about what they're doing, then of course that's when their heads can get turned a little bit. So we have our levels that we'll go to. We have our way of working that's, I think, is great, and is one of the reasons why these players are being talked about. So yeah, for us, it's about coming to an agreement that suits everyone, which I think is really important. And life goes on. If players leave, which we've seen, that's happened to us, it's happened to all of the other teams. Life goes on. There's no doubt about it. You know, we continue in the same vein, and of course we want people who are committed to being here at the club, and we have that at this moment in time. I think even with the likes of Lauren, been a bit of speculation, but I think her performances have been top class. She's been amazing.
Is it different? Is it more difficult now to negotiate, especially with the more senior, higher profile players, considering just the market? There's more eyes in the market, there's more money in the market.
Yeah, there's that, but also I think it's such a change in the women's game, whereas previously when I first came into it 3 years ago, I don't think we had players on longer than anything of 1 or 2 years. So obviously everything changes, and you know, you're trying to secure players now on longer term contracts, and players are more used to being on shorter contracts, and they don't want to commit for that time. But of course, I think what we're trying to do, what we see, and we're not potentially any different from any other club, is that we try and retain players that we feel are really good for us, that are going to be with us for the foreseeable. So then you get something similar to what we had back end of last season. The summer, we recruit Jill. We lose Hayley. That was really good for us in terms of succession planning in working with the same players. And then you can take, particularly when you don't get these pre-seasons that we've spoken about, you know, you don't get a chance to work with the players pre-season. But if you've got a group that 95% of them are the same, you're just picking up the baton really quickly straight away.
Thanks, guys. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Just quickly want to talk to you about Yuki Hasegawa won our Player of the Month. And obviously scored against Spurs in the week. How important is she for us?
Yeah, nothing's changed from what I've said previously about Yui. I think, you know, on that vein of talking about securing players for longer, it was a fantastic bit of business for us to secure Yui. I think she's been incredible adapting to a slightly different position, more withdrawn. Seen her more recently playing really high in the team as well, which is great because we've given her the encouragement to do that. But of course, so many of the good moments that we have with the ball and without the ball comes from Yui. She's such an intelligent player to work with. Her physical stature and size just completely goes against the grain on anything. I think she's one of the best ball recoverers there is in the game. And her quality in possession is, I call her the assister of the assister. So she might not necessarily have that first assist, but she's certainly that cog in the wheel that sets off that opportunity for someone to create for others.
How is the squad looking going into the game on Sunday?
Good. Yeah, unfortunately we couldn't. We had an issue with Kirsten on the day of the game, just a sore shin, but she's back trained today, which gives us a good option. Alana stepped in and did well, and it was obviously her first minutes in a long time, and to see out the 90 minutes was important. And of course, because the score was quite tight, although we were fairly dominant, it was really difficult to manage that. So yeah, getting Kirsten back is good. And outside of that, just the normals with Steph, obviously with a recent injury, and Jill.
Obviously, you say Alana came back in the week. 3 clean sheets consecutively now. I think we've only conceded 8 in the league all season. How important is our defensive record, not just from keeping the ball out, but having the foundations to go forward as well?
Well, you can just do amazing things from that. I think it just gives you such a platform to work off, knowing that teams are going to have to do a lot to score. And of course, if something happens and all of a sudden we ship in a couple of goals, we're not going to panic. We know that we continue to work in the same way, in the same vein all of the time. It's like our set plays at the moment. Set pieces have been really good for us. I think we've scored 6 goals in these 9 winning games. So to score 6 from set plays is impressive as well. We work hard at them. The players work really hard defensively. We're working hard, obviously, in our attacking play to be able to score the goals we're scoring. So, yeah, I think it's a really good platform to work from.
Just finally from me, I think we've narrowly lost on our last 3 visits to Arsenal. What might we have to do slightly different this time to get the victory?
Just the fine details. I think my first season we played Arsenal 3 times, we won 2-1. It always seems to be 2-1. We won on those 3 occasions 2-1. All of the other games, apart from a bit of a drubbing that we had one time there when we were really, really struggling with injuries, we always seems to be that 2-1. Back here last season, 2-1 winners. So yeah, of course, it's going to be tight. The margins are so tight. We feel we have the ability to really open up on teams for sure, particularly with the amount of opportunities that we create. So yeah, I expect it to be tight, and it's the FA Cup. It's a one-off game. It's a free hit for both teams, and both teams want to be there in the quarterfinals.
With it being a one-off game, does it change the not mindset, but obviously if it was a league game with other games coming after it, does it change the way you look at it a little bit?
Probably slightly. I think so. The longer the game goes on, depending on where you could be the game could be drawn, or we could be ahead, you could be behind. So the slight change in that respect, but of course we go into every game, and I'm sure most teams do, to win. What are we going to be able to do? What's going to allow us to win or give us the best possible chance of winning? So yeah, of course, I think the FA Cup is, you have to go for it. We've been pretty good in this competition. I think over the last few years we've always been there: quarterfinals, semi-finals, final, winners. So yeah, it's a great tournament. This is a tough tie, there's no doubt about that, and it's a shame it's not come a little bit further down the competition, but it is what it is.
Thank you for your time, Gareth.
Cheers, guys.
We'll go to Zoom now. Tom?
Oh, good afternoon, Gareth. Nice to see you. Just to follow on from that, you could, like anybody, have had a lower league side at home. So what went through your mind? What were the first words in your head when you saw the balls come out of the bag and this was your draw?
Just away. Just another away tie for us. That was the disappointing thing. So, but look, it's straight away you think to yourself, well, if you're going to win the competition, which we want to, of course, we go into every competition to try and win. If you're going to win, you have to play against decent teams, and this is what we have in this game. But yeah, the home tie is kind of what you want. I mean, obviously we're waiting on the Continental Cup draw this evening, and again, the first priority is, can we get a home tie? If we don't, and we have to travel again, then we've been pretty good on our travels. But yeah, I think it's a different proposition, obviously, when we play here at the Joy Stadium.
And I think it's fair to say after the league game at Bournemouth, you had some sort of critical words of Jonas. He was asked about that this morning, described it as sort of water under the bridge. How would you describe your relationship with Jonas?
Oh, well, I wouldn't describe our relationship, but I would say, yeah, water under the bridge, absolutely. I mean, I have full respect for him. I have full respect for all of the coaches who are trying to do this really difficult job. And sometimes when you're in the heat of the battle, everyone wants to win. Everybody will try to do what they can to win. And yeah, sometimes on occasions we can overstep the mark. I think it's afterwards if you can acknowledge that. I think that's fine. But no, we shake hands. Everything is cool. And again, we're both really determined to be in the draw.
Thanks, Gareth. I'm grateful. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We'll go to Dan next.
Hi, Gareth. Hope you're well.
Hi, Dan.
Just the one from me. I just wondered, obviously, with Arsenal having their game called off the other night, does that kind of make it that little bit more difficult for your team?
There's various ways you can look at this. I think obviously they would have been preparing for a game. So have they been able to train properly this week or not? Yeah, there's all the psychology that goes into it. Have they had a longer rest than what we have? Now they have to play the fixture next Wednesday before they play, I think, maybe Man United. So there's loads of ways you could look at it. I think in football, what you have to do is just be ready to adapt. You know, 1 minute your team is this, the next minute you lose 2 players in a training session, and fixtures move, games get called off. So I think most of us guys who've been in this game for a long time have good powers of adapting. So it's like being able to adapt at the last minute. Something happens in the game. Okay, it's not great, but we'll move and we'll adapt to it. And I'm sure, you know, they've done that this week.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Gareth. Best of luck. Cheers.
Sandra?
Hi.
Sorry, Sandra, we can't hear you.
Yeah, this is kind of for Matt and Steve. Do these Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Can you repeat your question, please?
Hi. Sorry. Yes, I'm going to ask Man City this year. Does the FA Cup do well and take on, meaning this year for you, for players, or is this a priority regardless of, how old the team are?
Priority. Is the FA Cup the priority? It is on Sunday. It is on Sunday, and once that game is done, the priority then turns to the WSL. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Sorry, I meant to say a bigger priority this your 10th year. Man's 10th year.
Oh, priority in the 10th match. Yeah.
Oh, in our 10th year? We want to win trophies, yeah, of course, there's no doubt. And whether it's the League Cup, the FA Cup, the WSL, any competition we go into, we try to be successful. So, yeah, the 10 years is the 10 years. I think it's fantastic that we celebrate it. And like you say, hopefully we're celebrating it with at least a trophy.
Thanks, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Charlotte?
Hi, Gareth.
Hi.
I'm looking into how managers manage differently between men's and women's teams. I spoke to Emma Hayes on it earlier this week and just wondered, from your experience, I know it's a huge generalisation, but what you've gathered that female teams, how they want to be managed and how they need to be managed.
Well, I think there's a huge difference between want and need. But what we do try to do here, I would probably say a little bit more, is to empower the players. And I think that would probably sit well with me regardless of male and female. I think it's really important that, I think we see it in rugby, that a coach really kind of steps away and has his kind of cultural architects and leaders within. And that's not just the captains. There'll be people within that dressing room that really manage things that the coach really doesn't have to have an impact on. And if it does get to the coach's front door, then it's always usually something quite serious. So no, I think it's about empowering the players as much as we can. The more I'm in the women's game, I've kind of felt that there is no difference. in coaching male and females, really. There are some slight nuances that can differ at times, but one thing I've always said is that I've been really blown away with the level of application from female players, just in terms of absolutely giving everything to being successful, or as successful as they possibly can. Sometimes with the young lads in the academy, it can be a little bit too much too soon. They get a little bit of success and they think they've kind of made it. With the girls, there's a lot of humility and they're constantly striving to improve. And, again, if you can really explain the rationale as to what you want them to try and do, then I think you get a really good buy-in from them and they give you everything.
Can you expand at all on those nuances that you mentioned?
Around what, sorry? That was a long-winded answer.
You just said there are nuances between managing men and women's teams. What nuances have you noticed? I
just think that probably to that last point I made, which was around explaining the rationale. Sometimes with the male players that I've worked with, they tend to just want to know what you want from them. I think with female players, if you can have more of a conversation with them and explain why you want them to do a certain concept, as an example, then the buy-in is huge. So it's just that slight bit of making them feel a part of the process. Whereas with the lads, it's a little bit more, what do you need from me, coach? I'm going to go and do it, or not do it.
Super.
On most occasions. Cheers.
All the best for the weekend. Thanks so much, Gareth.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte. We'll go to Phil next.
Hi, Gareth.
Hi.
I just wondered what you made of the reports that came out yesterday about blue cards and sin bins. Part of what was being reported was that the FA might consider that as a trial in the Women's FA Cup and the Men's FA Cup at some point in the future. So this whole idea of blue cards and sin binning, what do you make of that proposal?
Yeah, I did see something vague on it, but it wasn't anything that you probably explained it better than what I saw. It still seems like it's in its infancy in terms of thought process around it. Are they going to do it? Aren't they going to do it? Would it work? I don't know. I think if you're talking about, because we've said previously, haven't they? They've called it probably orange. It's an orange card, so it's not a yellow. It's not a red. It's an orange. Probably seems a similar concept, but yeah, would it work? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think sometimes we can meddle with the game a little bit too much. But I do certainly think that there are occasions where there have been some challenges that maybe sit in that middle part of being not really a red, but probably a little bit more than a yellow. I'm not really giving you much of an answer there, have I? I've sat right in the middle again, like these blue cards.
No, that's yeah, exactly. It fits very well. That's great. All right, yeah.
Okay.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks very much, Phil. Any more questions? No. Thanks very
Cheers,
much,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.